Good morning. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of the internal successes by foreigners, expats, and immigrants who have made Philippines their home and are doing good in the Philippines, either in business or society. Today, Friday morning, our guest is a gentleman called Alan Fairweather. He's Scottish by birth and Scottish by nationality, but has made Philippines his home for the last 9 months. He's an author and a sales consultant and is now adding value to this lovely country called Philippines. So, Sir Alan Fairweather, welcome to Expat Insights.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here.
It's an honor. We've kind of held you back from being on the show a couple of times,
Yeah,
so my apologies.
Yeah, but the time soon passes, and here we are.
Good.
Good to be here. Good to meet you for the first time.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So, sir, tell us a bit about yourself. Besides you being an author of 3 books, one of them is called The Motivational Manager, then How to Sell If You Don't Like Selling, and the other one is Managing Difficult People.
Yeah.
So 3 books. Tell us a bit about yourself, with the perspective.
Well, I started out, like a lot of Scottish people, we started off as engineers. Scottish people are usually known as being engineers.
Okay.
Like Scotty in Star Trek, always known as being engineers. But when I was about 22 or something, I got into sales, because that to me was a way to go. That was a way, the potential success for me would be in sales, because I could do something that would show what I could really do. And so I spent several years in sales, probably about, all in my time, probably about 23 years I've been in sales and sales management.
Right.
But in 1993, I decided I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to get out there. Instead of talking about it, people say, I want to work for myself. And that was when I realized my selling skills had to be good, because I suddenly found myself in a situation where there was no salary coming in every month.
Right.
When you have a job, you get paid every month, it goes into the bank.
Right.
All of a sudden, here's me on my own, and you think, well, you better practice what you preach and do all the things you need to do if you want to be successful. That was back in 1993, and here we are now.
So that's about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And prior to that, you had 23 years of selling experience.
No, I think overall it's about 23 years.
All in all, including...
Yes.
Yeah, all in all. So you went from being a sales manager to an entrepreneur who promotes selling skills.
Yeah, I promote selling skills. I mean, selling to me, I realized, it's so important. Selling, one of my countrymen, who is Robert Louis Stevenson, who was an author, who wrote things like Treasure Island. Yes. He said everyone lives by selling something.
Right.
And it's true. We're selling ourselves, we're selling our skills, we're selling our knowledge. We have to sell ourselves if we go for a job. And some people do it better than others because they know the rules and they know how to do it. And I realized that the people who didn't realize needed help, and needed help to do it. But selling, I like to think of, and keep it as simple as possible. There are so many different programs and procedures and things you can do to be better at selling. But it's really quite a simple process. But nowadays, I like to talk about motivating people to buy rather than selling.
So wait, so thus when you say that you chose to be in sales and you think sales is the thing that leads businesses, no? So what exactly is it that sales does for a company or a corporation? How does it lead it forward? How does it take a whole enterprise and move it forward? What's your philosophy about it? Of course it does, but what's your philosophy about it?
Well, so many, this is for small businesses. That was why I wrote the 3rd book, How to Make Sales When You Don't Like Selling.
Right.
Because people start out in business. They think, I can make glass tables. It doesn't matter what it is. And they can make the best product in the whole world. But unless they tell the world about it, then nothing's going to happen. You're going to end up with a warehouse full of glass tables. So they have to sell. So how do they do that? And that's the challenge that a lot of people find.
So thus, whatever you produce or whatever you create or whatever you innovate upon has to be brought to the market. It has to be made acceptable or at least valuable for customers. So that is sales.
Yeah, I mean, selling is absolutely vital to any business. But you see, the problem is a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. They don't like selling. Businesses, we want to be seen as nice guys. We don't want to be seen as too pushy. We don't want to be seen as pressurizing people.
Right.
because a lot of poor salespeople actually do that. You know, and you know, people nowadays are we're getting overloaded with sales messages.
Correct. We're getting blasted.
All the time.
Bomb blasted, yeah.
All the time. I'm driving here this morning, and even just sales messages on, you know, billboards, as I call them, at the side of the road.
Promotional. Yeah.
Promotional board, selling me something.
Right.
People approach you in the street, you think they're going to sell you something. Someone telephones you, you think they're going to sell you something. So what happens is people shut down very quickly. They
Yeah,
shut
right,
down.
right.
So salespeople have got to become much better. And of course,
They've got to outsmart that barricade that people put up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they you know, I find that, you know, with the technology nowadays, you know, things have changed, things are different.
Right.
I get regular spam texts. I call them spam texts. Texts from people.
I get it too.
You get it too?
I get it from big banks, which is very irritating. Yeah.
Well, some of the time I get it from people and I don't know who they are.
Right.
That's the thing. And they say, you know, whatever it is they're selling. Now, that's just not, it's not going to work with me. And some people will argue, yes, it works with a certain percentage of people. But there's another, you can become more sophisticated at that.
Right.
I approached a fitness center in Manila.
Right.
About joining this fitness club, a gym. And they said, you know, could they have my details? Of course, I gave them my details, my telephone number, and so on.
Right.
Now, I didn't join on that day.
Right.
And they said, is it okay we keep in touch until you help make up your mind?
Right.
I said, yeah, of course it is. Now, they send me texts regularly. But what they do is the text offer advice on health and fitness. It offers advice on, you know, things to eat.
Right.
So they're actually building a relationship with me.
They're doing good, you mean? They're doing the right thing.
This is good. This is fine, because I can read that and go, okay, yeah, that's fine.
So they're staying on top of your mind. They're staying on top of your mind.
Yes.
Okay.
So when the day comes to join a gym or a health club, it looks like they're going to be the people that are going to get my business.
Okay, fantastic. So a round of applause for that gym. They was doing good. So, Sir Alan, so given the fact that people push and there's so much bombardment of data on you, and given the fact that technology has helped people stay on top of the mind for the longest time, no? What should be, or what is your core philosophy on selling? Thus, if you were to say it, quote unquote, in two sentences, what would it be? What is selling thus?
Well,
from that perspective,
what I said earlier, we need to stop selling.
Okay.
And motivate people to buy.
Okay.
This kind of idea of selling, I hear people talk about making a pitch. You know, they talk about making a pitch.
Yeah.
And we still encounter this, people telling us, this is my product, this is what it does,
right.
This is all the benefit, you know, this is all the features and benefits of my product, blah, blah, blah. And people are, as I say, they don't want to hear that.
Right.
We need to build relationships.
Correct.
Seth Godin, the
Purple Cow.
the market, yes, that's the
Purple
guy,
Cow
marketing
man,
guru. He says that, you know, people are trying to turn strangers into customers.
Correct.
And that is very difficult. So it's
Right.
much better to turn strangers into friends
First.
and friends into customers.
Right. Okay, so that's the core philosophy. So rather than it being a pitch and a one-way street, you first partner up and build relationship, then sell, no?
So when we say friends, I mean it's business friends. We build that rapport, we build that relationship, like the health club is doing with me. They're giving me something. They're giving me little tips. They're not just selling, they're giving me something. And if we can do that through all the media that we have nowadays, Twitter, Facebook, blogs, websites, there's a massive stuff that we can use.
So, sir, what are your ideas on arming these people, arming others, teaching others to sell well? How do you do that to motivate people rather than just sell?
I think it's a case of making it simpler, trying to keep it simple.
Right.
Getting people to take this different attitude to it, you know, taking a different approach to it,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, some of the, I mean, this has been happening over the past few years.
Yeah.
You know, selling has been about, you know, the steps of a sale have been about, you know, introducing yourself, some brief talk, and then a couple of questions about what is it you're looking to buy, and then the presentation. You know, I went to look at a car. Went to buy a new car some years ago. And you walk into the car showroom. Now, the thing foremost in my mind is, how am I going to pay for this? Well, I know there was different ways of paying for it. Cash, credit of some kind, leasing the car, all these different ways of doing it. And that was So when the salesman meets me and I say, hi, good morning, he says, hi, sir, good morning.
Yeah.
How can we help you today? And I say,
Yeah.
I'm interested in one of your cars, but I really want to know how I'm going to pay for it. And he says, okay, sir, that's no problem. Come and look at this new model. Come and look at this new car.
Oh,
this
okay.
is really great.
Okay, so thus he kept pushing a product without the whole package
Yes.
that should go with the product.
Yes.
So your recommendation is that don't just think of pushing a product, but providing a service or a partnership towards him getting value out of it. That should be
Listen, listen. You know, salespeople have been known through the years as great talkers. Some of the best salespeople.
That's the traditional used car salesman. You know?
That's right.
Big mouth. Yeah,
That's
okay.
it. Big mouth. Talk, talk, talk.
Yeah.
Talk you into a sale. Some of the best salespeople I've ever met are great listeners. Just fantastic listeners. Sometimes quite quiet people, but they ask the right questions. They show an interest in what the customer wants. Tell me about what it is you want. And they ask the questions, then they listen, and then they come back with the benefits of their product or service to what the customer needs.
So it's more diagnostics and then solution rather than just a pitch, no? So, Mr. Fairweather, let me ask you this. Now, today, technology, as you said, people are blasting into your cell phones, etc. And yes, though traditional selling does exist, the philosophy of selling is pretty good. How do I now employ all these methods of reaching out to a larger prospect audience? What do I do? What are your recommendations on that? Our websites and stuff, how do you integrate old school selling to new technology?
I think it's a case if you've got to analyze, well, who are your customers? You know,
Right. How do I go about it?
Is it Joe Public? I would say the people out there, or is it people?
Juan de la Cruz.
Yeah. Is it, or is it people in industry? Is it people in a particular industry? So how do we get the message to them? So what is it they do? There's no point putting stuff on Facebook if your client is
not on Facebook.
Is not on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you have to identify, where your clients are, and then use all those facilities. I mean, I was reading something the other day that said that very, very few organizations have a blog, and yet people will tell you, get a blog. Get a blog. Get video. Get on video. Get your product. The other day, a friend was looking for some information on how to she started a small printing company, printing T-shirts and so on.
Get a blog.
yeah. But she's
there's no blog reader.
Get a blog, but also get videos made and get them on YouTube or some other similar device, because people are now, when they're looking for something, they're looking for information on something. They can Google, which is good, but they'll also use YouTube because they want to see something. They want to see how something is made. They want to see how you do it. So if you have an organization, get your people on YouTube, get your product or your service, get it out there visually for people to see.
You think so? That's a good idea.
Yes.
To blog and to get on social networks, no?
Absolutely.
Not necessarily Facebook, but YouTube and others. So that's one way.
That's one way.
So if it's a very local company, if it's a small restaurant which is in a neighborhood, do they also need to do that? Or do they need to just put flyers in the neighborhood? That would be marketing.
Yes, that's right. That would be the way to do it. But they need to think just a little bit more about what will switch their customers on. I mean, you were talking about a small local restaurant.
Right.
I read about one in the States where every so often the owner of the restaurant, when, say, a group asks for their bill, he will say to them, you're my guest tonight, you do not have to pay the bill. The meal is on me, it is free. Now, those people are, one, quite surprised, and what do those people do the next day when they go to their place of work or they talk to their friends? They say, we've got a free meal at that restaurant. Now, that costs a lot less to the restaurant owner than printing flyers.
So word of mouth publicity.
Word of mouth.
So, Mr. Fairweather, how about two things? So number one is, you said use questions for diagnostics, and first one is relationship building.
Yeah.
What are your strategies for relationship building online, in the digital media, besides blogging and YouTube? Are there any other more scientific methods on building relationships today for you?
I think it's...
Besides word of mouth, besides giving a free meal, is there something more? Because how do you reach? Today, everyone's trying to reach out to a larger audience.
I think that, well, one is, branding,
Right,
you
okay.
brand your business in
Right.
some way. It doesn't matter whether you're a small business or a large
Yeah.
business. Now, the big boys already know this, the Nikes of this world, the Gap, Coca-Cola. Well, Coca-Cola was built on branding, as
Right,
we know.
right.
I mean, it's that, the gentleman who founded Coca-Cola realized that. Get the brand out there, because at the end of the day, that's what people are going to buy. Now, a small business owner can do that. I was just thinking this morning, some years ago when I went to the United States, and I spoke to a lady there who was she was the main person in speakers agencies. And she said to me, Alan, you've got to have a brand. You've got to, Alan Fairweather's fine, but you need something else. And you have to have a moniker or a slogan or a nickname or whatever. And that's
something that re-anchors
Yes.
that name
Yes.
of Alan Fairweather, the man who teaches
Right.
non-salesperson to sell, something like that. Yeah.
Well, mine is the motivation doctor. That was
Oh, yeah, there you go,
the motivation
yeah.
doctor. That's what
Yeah.
I call myself. All my friends had a good laugh at that. But I was at a networking event one day, and I walked in, and we're all sort of chatting, and someone said to me, and who are you? And I said, I'm Alan Fairweather. Hi. He went, oh, the motivation doctor. And I
Okay.
said, yeah. How did you hear that? And he said, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I thought, yes, this is it. These things, because people go, motivation, what does that mean? It's a brand. So I would say to people, get your brand out there. I've always said to people, I see people who go to the gym and they've got Nike on or Reebok or sort of Polo or something on their T-shirt. What's wrong with getting their own business on their T-shirt?
Oh, so that's one way to do
Get,
it. No?
get your own business out there. Keep promoting your brand. Always, because these things don't cost a lot of money. They just keep getting your name out there.
Yeah.
Because people, if they recognize a brand, they feel comfortable because they've heard of you, they know about you.
Right, they know, they feel sure, they feel it's a trusted source, no?
We-
So about the diagnostics portion, you mentioned that people should do a lot of more questioning, no? How do I go about questioning? Is it just business-based questioning? What are your diagnostic methods to find out what provides value to the customer?
I mean, it comes down to finding, if you're in a particular marketplace and you want to find out more about that customer, you need to know where they work, you need to know where they market,
Yeah.
what they're trying to do.
Right.
But when it comes down to with individuals and selling individuals your product or service, you need to go and speak to them. You need to speak to them at some point. You need to speak to them and ask them questions. And you need to ask them, find out what it is they're trying to do. Find out what it is they want for their business. What is it they are actually trying to do? Now, people, you might say, well, people will say to me, well, we want to do some training for our staff in marketing. I've had people say that to me in marketing and say, well, can I just ask you, what do you mean by marketing? Well, we want our staff to talk about our product and service.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes down to it, when actually they want more sales, they want more sales. So then you have to tailor what you offer to suit them, so it brings them closer to getting more.
So thus probe and dig deep enough until you understand what they will do with what they're seeking to get from you. So go beyond a few steps until you can provide the end solution. So that would be the depth of the probing.
That's right. It's probing, probing in sales is, you really need to dig down deep. It's back to the business. Let's use the gym example again, or the health club
The gym,
example.
go back to the fitness center.
Yeah. So why do people?
Do you want to promote their name?
No.
Okay, let's not promote their name. Not now. Yeah.
There's two F's in it. So
Yeah.
but when you go to the gym, the people. I mean, I've done work with health clubs. And I've asked the group to say, why do people come here? Why do customers come here? And they say, oh, they come to get fit. They come to build up their muscles. They come to just lose weight.
Yeah.
But are you sure about that? You're absolutely positive. Because I know people who go to a gym to meet other people, who maybe to build a relationship with other people.
Okay, so
maybe to find a
discover
girlfriend.
other aspects of their need, and probably the one that they're expressing is not the one they're going to fill.
Now
All right.
that could be an industrial product as well, and an industrial service. You need to dig down deep and find out what do they want.
Get more insights into the customer's final needs. So, Mr. Fairweather, let's take a little break. Yeah. After the break, we'll come back and ask you about how to handle conflict, objections, because that's one of your books, and then how to close and serve further, because I think that's the usual cycle of sales. No? So let's stay with that, yeah? Okay. So stay watching. You are on Expert Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are talking to Mr. Alan Fairweather, who's a sales consultant. This is Expert Insights. We are talking about leading sales. Break. Good morning. Welcome back to Expert Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are talking to Mr. Alan Fairweather, who's a sales and a motivational consultant. He is a motivational doctor, and he just finished telling us his philosophy on sales, and now we're going to talk to him about how to manage or handle objections or handle conflict. So, Doc, let me call you Doc. I like calling people Doc, you know. It's easy. So, how do salespeople, when customers raise objections to price, quality, terms, period of delivery, or just about the whole thing, what are your strategies on doing that?
Well, again, it comes back to questions. Again,
Right,
again, it comes back to asking questions again, because you've got to identify whether the objections, you know, or resistance is real.
Yeah.
You know, if someone says to you, "You're too expensive,"
Yeah.
now a lot of salespeople will say, "Well, okay, well, we'll need to negotiate, or we need to reduce the price, or I'll speak to my boss," and so on. But that may not be the reason. What the customer may be saying, and a lot of salespeople might not like this, but it might be saying, "I don't like you," or "I don't have good rapport with you."
Right.
But it's easy to say, "Oh, it's too expensive."
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
Oh,
so
okay.
we need to identify, we need to ask questions again and say, can I ask you, why do you say it's too expensive? We need to question that. Again, we need to dig down deep. Because the person might say, well, it's not that it's too expensive, but I don't think it does what we want it to do. So we have something different now. So the product or service doesn't fulfill your needs. So again, it's this business about questioning. Questioning.
Right.
And sometimes people, we have to realize that people will often, you know, offer resistance or objections for a whole range of reasons. They may not have understood what you're talking about.
Right.
They may not have heard you. They may not feel they have good rapport with you.
Right.
You know, there could be a whole range of it. They may feel uncomfortable. They have got something else in their mind. And that's why, again, I keep coming back to this. Salespeople need to question. It's the old story, and I know most people in sales will have heard that: one mouth, 2 ears, use them that proportion.
Okay, so
Question,
twice as much
listen.
asking and listening rather than telling. Twice as much telling. So that's it, probing beyond and then coming across and handling conflict. How about managing competition? What are your methods? What are your recommendations on, you know, managing competition? Like, do you put them down? Do you raise them up? How do you manage? When somebody says, hey, Raju, I like the product of Alan Fairweather much better than you. That's not an objection, but that's comparison. What are your strategies on managing that one?
Well, again, we'll come back to the questions to say, and hopefully the salesperson should know his competitors and should know what they offer.
Right.
And it's fair to say, I can understand why you like that particular company or service. Can I ask you what you feel, what benefits you feel you have in dealing with them? Because in a way, you're just wanting to pull things out. Because if you've come prepared, then you should be ready with something to overcome that resistance. So tell me, why do you deal with that particular organization? Well, we've always dealt with them. We feel that they offer us good service. Okay, so what do you think are the main things? Well, it's the price and the service. And then you're looking to say, well, if we were to offer a faster service, would that be something you'd be interested in? So you're trying to identify, what is it you likes about the competition? What is it you likes about the competition? Now, you should know that. You should
either you offset it, match it, or surpass it.
Yes.
Either you do that. So when you discover that there is something, what if you discover that competition is really providing a much better product and a value? In that case, do you still push or do you back up? What would be the authentic thing to do?
There is a point where you really have to use your head and say, well, this is as far as I'm going to get here.
Right.
There's no point. I mean, I've known salespeople who who seem to have been taught to say, just keep hammering away and hammering away. Now, there has to come a point where you say, there's no point hammering anymore because this is not going to happen. And maybe you have to go back at a later time. You know, maybe you have to. I can remember when I started my business, I phoned one particular company who were in office furnishing business, and eventually got through to the managing director and asked if I could have an appointment to go and speak with them about some training. And he was very direct with me. No way, no how, no.
This was in this country?
This was not in this country. No,
all right,
This was
in this country, we don't tell you off.
No, that's right.
Yeah, you agree to that.
I agree to that. But he was much more direct. We had someone like you in before. It was no use. It didn't work. It was a waste of time.
You guys are scam.
That was it. Bang, bang, bang. And really, I was really struggling. So I said, okay, I can understand and I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I do believe. And I eventually said, would it be okay if I came back to you, give you a phone call, say, in a few months and see what the feeling is then? He said, you can phone me back in a few months if you like, but the answer will be the same. I said, okay. And at the time, I thought, I won't do it. But then, when the time came up, and I'm using my record cards, and I thought, here is this man again. Phone him. And I phoned them, and he said, yeah, I spoke to you before, and I told you the situation. I said, all I want is 15 minutes of your time, because I believe I have got something that will make a contribution to your business. In other words, bring you in more sales. And I just want 15 minutes to explain that. And he said, okay, you can come and see if you want, but I don't know if we'll be doing any business with you.
So he was standoffish from the beginning, but you were able to do it. Did you get the deal?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because the point was, as soon as he said he would see me, I thought, yes.
That was step in. That was put inside the door.
And then when you're face to face, I realized that this man who was full of, I would call it bluff and bluster and blah, 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 blah.
He was
quite a shy man.
He was a pussycat.
He was a pussycat. That's it. He was a pussycat.
Dr. Allen, Dr. Fairweather, let me ask you this. No? So you're saying that, number one, empathize with the resistance.
Empathize.
Then you go ahead and inquire and find out what it is, and then persist but gently, and you will someday be able to surpass those resistances, whatever issues they have. On the issue of standoffishness and directness and this culture, these strategies that you mentioned about building rapport and finding out what they need, no? How do they stand true for, number one, age gaps, generations, younger person to older person to younger person, male to female, gender, and maybe culture, Asia to the West, you know? So would you give us examples, or what are your strategies on these three issues? Number one, generations, gender, and then culture.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's true to say that, you know, the generations nowadays are different to the generation in my time. And again, it's being aware, it's starting to understand. You can't become a young person, you know. You can't. You can't become 15 again. You can't.
I wish. I wish I become 25 is good.
But and there's no point in saying, you know, they're wrong and I'm right and so on. You have to look and say, well, how do they communicate? What do they want to know? What do they? How do they understand? I mean, I've run seminars and people are sitting in the audience with laptops or doing stuff on their phone, and you know, sometimes they are either sending messages about what you say. It's very easy to think of that as a negative thing, but it's not necessarily negative. People are sending your information to other people, which is fine, or they're checking on your information. It's just different. So just say, accept that. Accept it as it is. But at the end of the day, you know, people are people, and we, you know, I mean, I'm sitting here in a suit, and I've often thought, like, say you're dealing with a younger group of people. Say in a workshop or something. Well, maybe I want to get the suit off and put jeans on.
So match them a bit.
Yeah, match them a bit. But that doesn't seem to work, because they would look. I've gone with a younger group of people. Even a social situation. You know, when I've gone back to the gym again, gone to the gym and I've turned up in my, what I call my work clothes. And some younger people say, oh, you look really smart today. You look really, you know, they don't say that to me on a Saturday when I've got my jeans and T-shirt on.
Puruntong pants.
Yeah, that's right. So they go, oh, you're looking really smart today. And I think, okay, right, okay. Because that gives you that little bit of authority, just that little bit of edge.
Ah, okay.
But sure, you can take the jacket off and so, but don't try to become like.
Or don't
your own.
replicate.
Don't replicate.
Just match.
Just
To create rapport. So if I'm a younger salesperson, I have elderly customer, then I come across and deal with him as I would deal with an elder. With the same respect, the same courtesy, the same polite, and the same pace.
Yes.
And the same pace. How about male-female challenges? You know, in the olden days, I know companies used to hire women salesmen just because they would get their foot in easily. So what's the trend today, and how do you mitigate that trend if it's a challenge?
I'm just trying. I wrote an article, and, you know, and it was one of the most popular articles for some reason or other that circulated.
Right.
Selling to women and selling to men is
Two different things. Yeah.
It's two different things.
Okay.
Women are better at visualizing things. They're better at seeing things. They buy in, and I know I'm generalizing here, but I've watched women in supermarkets who will pick up some product for cleaning, you know, for washing.
Appearances.
For washing.
Yeah.
Dishes, you know, for washing dishes. Stuff like that, yeah.
That's no problem with that. Yeah.
And they'll smell the product.
Yeah.
They'll pick it off the shelf and go and smell it. Now, a guy says, it's for washing clothes or washing dishes.
Right.
What does the smell got to do with it? But it's part of their decision-making process.
Right.
So if I'm going to sell a guy that particular product to try and simplify it, I would say this will take the grease off the dishes much quicker than any other product.
Yeah.
It's the one you got to have.
So you'd settle for performance and price.
Yeah.
And she'd settle for appearances and smell and
all
the
these other
whole feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole.
Yeah.
Just maybe the bigger thing, the whole thing. You know, and in some ways that. I mean, we all buy emotionally. There's no doubt about that. We all buy.
Right, do we?
With our heart rather than our head.
Really? I need you to tell me about that. Now, after you're done with telling me about male-female. Are you done?
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. But that does come into it. But yes, it's
okay.
The differences again.
So, one question before that was Western culture and Eastern culture. Yeah. How do you overcome that? Is there a difference in approaching a person of a different culture, and what methods must I employ?
Again, it's back to this business about if you're a good salesperson, get to know your customer, your client. Get to ask questions and listen and keep your mouth closed.
Even in different cultures. Even in different cultures.
I mean, I run workshops in Vietnam, in Singapore, in Indonesia, and in the Philippines. And
that's an amazing thing to do with so many countries, so many cultures.
Yeah, and you know, so many things are so similar, and yet they are different. But what I always try to do as a good salesperson, if I'm selling my ideas, is try and listen and understand what they think.
Right. So you make the shoe fit rather before you sell it, no?
Yes, you have to say, well, what do you think? What do you feel about that? Keep asking questions.
So create a fit. Before you push it in, see that you align it to their culture, to their gender, to their generation, and then not pitch it, but really find a solution. So that's your recommendation. No? So you said most all of us most buying is done emotional, no? I'd like you to explain that from the perspective of you having done business in so many countries. So Vietnam, did you say Thailand?
Yeah, I've not been to Thailand yet, no. But
you said Vietnam,
I've been to Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia.
Yeah, Indonesia.
I said Vietnam, Singapore.
Yeah.
Singapore.
So can you explain the emotional buying from the perspective of these three different countries?
Well, I find that almost everywhere that people will make a decision based on their emotions rather than logic. Like how they feel about things, how they were brought up, how they see the world.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter what it is.
So it's not the size, the color, and the price. Not so much the size, the color, and the price, but more how I feel about it or where I come from, where my values come from.
Where your values come from. Where just, you know, some people, have said that, you know, some people will buy a house, which is maybe the biggest purchase they'll ever make, on the simplest thing. You know, they like the color of it.
I like the window.
I like the window.
I like the coconut tree behind it.
That's right. I love this house. Let's buy this house.
Reminds me of my childhood.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's it. So they're making that decision based on that. People buy motor cars. You know, we buy motor cars because sometimes people buy motor cars buy a particular brand of motor cars to impress the neighbours.
Right, that's an emotional, that's a crazy emotional, that's an ego need.
That's an ego need,
yeah.
that's right, because it's not, you could say, well, why did you spend all that money on...
My neighbour has it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I can drive into my street and people say, oh, look at his new car.
Impress my neighbour.
Wow.
I can't afford it, but impress my neighbour.
Exactly.
Mr. Fairweather, it's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us so many insights on how to sell and the whole cycle of selling and covering these generations. We are about to close. We've got 3 more minutes, and I'd like you to talk about your books and about the work you do in the Philippines.
Okay.
And if there's anything you want to promote, this is your opportunity. To the TV, I'm sure you have a Filipino family, of course.
Yes, yes, that's right.
So whatever you want to talk about, the next 1 minute on that camera.
Well, that helps me understand the culture, and you know, having a Filipino family,
Yes, sir.
it helps me to understand how people think and how people speak. You know, in management, people will say to me when I'm running courses, well, you know, Filipinos don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
I don't think many people do.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying is, but we still need to give the people who work for us, we need to, one, tell them when we catch them doing something we like,
Right.
but we also need to tell them when we find them doing something we're not so happy with. But that doesn't have to be confrontation. That's really just about sitting down with the individual, spending time with them, telling them that you're unhappy with something, but asking them for what they think. Why did they do it like that?
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about how we can get it better by working together. So there doesn't have to be confrontation. There doesn't have to be confrontation.
So we should practice a little more assertiveness rather than
Exactly.
aggressiveness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not aggressiveness, not unassertive, but assertive.
Right there.
Being
right in the
assertive is about, you know, realizing how other people feel, but making your point. That was why I wrote the first book, How to Be a Motivational Manager, for middle managers who are sometimes struggling about just how to deal with their people and how to get the best out of them. Yes, we have difficult people on our team, and I wrote the second book, How to Manage Difficult People.
Right.
But again, about understanding them, understanding they see the world differently from you. We all see the world differently.
Yeah.
Every one of us, no matter
Different
where
perspective,
we are.
yeah.
We're all different. We're as different as our fingerprints. And
Then you wrote the last book.
And then the last book, which was How to Make Sales When You Don't Like Selling. And a lot of people, in, you know, small businesses, they're uncomfortable with selling. This book is there to help them get customers, come to them, make it easier.
Mr. Fairweather, thank you very much. So did you want to announce your website? Any program, anything?
It's themotivationdoctor.com.
That's the website.
Themotivationdoctor.com. And if you want to sign up for my newsletter, it's free, and it's full of tips and techniques and skills and strategies. It comes out every other week.
Thank you very much. Salamat, mabuhay. And what's the most thing that you like about the Philippines? What's the more fun thing?
The most fun,
more fun thing.
Oh,
yeah.
the most fun thing. I don't know, but I love the weather. The weather's going to be, coming from a cold country where now it's snowing and whatever it is, the weather's good, the people are lovely. And
So it's like a sauna up here.
It's like a sauna. I don't
All right.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
Good. Thanks
Pleasure.
again.
Thank you very much. So that was not doctor, but Mr. Alan Fairweather, a sales consultant and an author of 3 books, and he's now made Philippines his home. So if you ever want sales training, that's the man to go to. Good night and mabuhay, and we'll see you next week on the Home Conversation.